In March 2026, Japan's education ministry approved a new round of high school textbooks. Several of them taught that Dokdo belongs to Japan. Within hours, Seoul's foreign ministry summoned Japan's chargé d'affaires and issued a formal protest. This has happened before, in some form, almost every year since the 1950s. To understand why Korea reacts this fast every time, you have to understand what Korea believes it already proved a long time ago. Korea's case starts with a sentence from the Sejong Sillok, the official annals of King Sejong, written in 1454. 2 islands, it says, close enough to see from Ulleungdo on a clear day. Korean administrative records keep naming both islands together for the next 4 centuries. The story Korean schoolchildren actually remember starts later, with a fisherman. In 1696, Ahn Yong-bok crossed into Japanese waters and confronted local officials directly, telling them, according to Korean and Japanese records alike, that Usan-do, Dokdo, belonged to Korea's Gangwon province. What happened next is the part Korea's case leans on hardest. Japan's own Edo government, asked directly by Totori domain whether the islands belonged to Totori, wrote back that they did not. In 1877, Japan's own Meiji-era Council of State went further, issuing a directive stating outright that Japan had no relation to Takeshima and one other island. Korea's argument isn't just built on its own sources, it's built partly on Japan's. In 1900, Korea's imperial government issued Decree No. 41, formally placing Dokdo under Ulleungdo County's administration. 5 years later, in 1905, as Japan was tightening its grip on Korea in the run-up to full annexation, Japan incorporated the same island into Shimane Prefecture. Korea doesn't treat this as a coincidence. It treats it as the first act of a colonization that would swallow the entire country 5 years later. When the war ended, the Allied Occupation Authority drew the line itself. SCAPIN 677 excluded Dokdo from the territory Japan was permitted to administer. SCAPIN 1033 barred Japanese vessels from coming within 12 miles of it. In 1951, when Japan signed away its claim to Korea, including the islands of Quelpart, Port Hamilton, and Dagalay, Korea reads its own territory, Dokdo included, as already settled by that same post-war reckoning. Since 1954, when Japan first proposed taking the dispute to the International Court of Justice, Korea's answer has stayed the same: no. Not because Korea fears losing. Officially, it's because Korea says there is nothing to litigate. You don't go to court to prove something you already have. South Korea maintains police presence, Coast Guard patrols, and permanent residents on the island. It calls this exercising sovereignty, not defending a claim. None of this fully explains the speed of that 2026 protest, though. For that, you need one more layer, the one that isn't a treaty or a court document. A novelty song from a 1982 comedy show, Dokdo is Our Land, turned a territorial argument into something every Korean could sing before they could explain it. And Korea's official language for the island, the first victim of Japanese imperialism, ties it directly to a colonial occupation most Korean families experienced within living memory of their grandparents. When Japan asserts a claim, Korea doesn't just hear a border dispute, it hears the opening chapter of a story that already has an ending everyone knows. That is why a single textbook, approved 4,000 kilometers from Seoul, can produce a diplomatic summons within hours. The paperwork says sovereignty. The reaction says something older than that. Japan tells this same 100 years back, starting from the exact same year, 1905, and landing in a completely different place. That's next.